episode of One Miss Pod. I'm Kelly Warner,
I'm Zach Long.
and today we're going to be talking about the first three episodes of the new Netflix series, Ju-on Origins. But
At least we
first,
hope so.
yeah, this is going to be fun. But first, Zach has an additional thought he wants to share about the film that was the focus of last week's episode, Onibaba.
Yes, as I was editing the podcast from hell, I realized that we missed a point that is very near and dear to my heart. When we were talking about the ending, you see the character of the old woman as jumping over the pit, and I see her as
Mm-hmm.
falling into the pit. But the film freezes part way, so you really don't know which is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this actually speaks to Japan's love of ambiguity within storytelling, something that we don't see nearly as much of in the West. We like to really have a concrete grounding, and a great example of this is to look at the Ring versus Ringu, where in the Ring, what happens is every image in the videotape is given a meaning, where in the Ring it just kind of happens. It's ambiguous. What does it mean? And we also saw this when we talked about Pulse, because the story of how the horror of Pulse started is very ambiguous because we don't know if we can trust that source. And one story that I have from my own life that kind of shows this is I watched American Vandal season 1 with mom, and the end of that show, at least that season, is very ambiguous about what exactly has happened, and why I loved it, because I have my own reading that I take away. My mother hated it because she wanted the concrete answer. She
When
didn't
it's
want
closure,
ambiguity. And I think that Ju or not Ju-on, I think that
Onibaba.
and I think that Onibaba actually really kind of highlights this ambiguity in its ending. And I just really wanted to point that out because I like that feature in the Japanese cinema quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And last week was the episode from Hell, so we kind of missed it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Forgive us. But yeah, I still see her as jumping.
And I can only see her as fallen.
It's, ugh.
And that's the fact that we can both watch the same movie and have a completely different take
Yeah,
on the
no.
ending is very. It's a sign of sort of how well and finely crafted that ending is
Hmm.
to create this ambiguity.
I want to say that the falling ending that you see, that's the ending that I like more conceptually than the jumping. The jumping continues the story; it doesn't end it, whereas the fall seems to end it. I don't. Just saying.
Absolutely, but that was just all I wanted to bring up.
Hmm. Hmm. Um. Okay, so before we get to other movie talk, anything new?
I've been having a pretty alright week watching a bunch of Don the Dragon Wilson films, as you know.
Yes, yes, we watched a couple
He
together.
is
That was
Oh,
fun.
he is a. I really really enjoy him. He's
Yeah,
not a good actor, but he just there's something so charming about the fact
yeah,
that he's a
no,
bad actor,
no,
and
and
he's an amazing martial artist. So
it's a sincere sort of screen presence.
yeah, it really is, and it's a lot of fun. So you'll have to hear more about those. You'll have to wait till we get bored of this and make a Don the Dragon Wilson podcast.
Oh no.
Otherwise, though, I've just been endlessly flirting with quite a lovely person, and I'm very very I am just head over heels right now. So
Aw,
it's very nice to sort of mainline that drug.
yeah.
How about yourself, though, Kel?
Oh, let's see. For me, oh, this I tried to take a break last week. I tried to take a break and do a lot of
Wait,
self
tried?
care. Yes, because I
Did you
found out
did?
that
Oh,
taking a
okay.
break in 2020 really doesn't feel like taking a break at all. It turns out, at least not in my experience. Like that sucked. I'm not good at self care in general, but that felt like that was a shitty week.
I
But
actually, you know what? I relate to this beyond just 2020. Like when I go on vacation, I come back and I feel worse.
oh,
But my next vacation, though, I found out that there is a Buddhist monastery just like 5 hours north of here that does a 6 nights, 5 days meditation course where you stay there. You get 3 meals, you get a bunch
Hmm.
of meditation classes. You can walk around the grounds. It's on the. It's basically like it's on this like high cliff at the edge of the water, and it just looks out over the ocean.
And
And
you said this is your next vacation? You already have
this
plans for
is this is
this?
100% going to be my next vacation.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, their next session is August 1st. I can't make that, but I'm going to keep
Yeah.
an eye out for whatever the next one is and do that because
Hmm.
I'm going to leave technology behind.
Yeah.
I am just going to be there. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to focus on nature. I'm literally going to do nothing. It is actually going to be relaxing, not like, oh
Hmm.
god, I'm in Montreal, so I have to go here and I have to go there and I have to
Hmm.
go here and I
Hmm.
have to squeeze. Like, nope, just sitting in a room, enjoying some meals in peace.
That does sound nice.
Is it any
And
surprise that I will end up at a Buddhist monastery already? Like, nah.
no, no,
We
not
all we
not.
all know that at some point I'm going to actually just be like, oh wait, well I'm gonna have a residency here for 2 years. It's
No,
gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean that's yeah, no.
It's me. It's definitely the
Yeah.
direction I'm going.
Hmm. Hmm. I'll take care of your plants.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure to sneak you into the country then.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to some more movie talk. New to streaming this week is the 2019 Korean horror film Metamorphosis. It's now available on Shudder as an exclusive. The
Never
description
heard of
on
that one.
Shudder reads: A demon from his past has infiltrated exorcist Jong Soo's family, disguising itself and deceiving everyone within. Racked with guilt, Jong Soo must face the force of evil once and for all, risking his own life in the process. I don't know, so it's that sort of
That
movie.
sounds really good, actually.
And other streaming news, Junji Ito's Tomy series is being adapted
Yes.
into a Quibi series by Alexandre Aja. Aja?
This
Aja.
can we just take a moment to really like think about this? Like this is almost an amazing piece of news. This is
Yeah.
really cool because Aja makes good movies.
Yeah, no, no.
Tomy is wonderful. Ito would be great in short form. There's just one glaring problem with this. Who fucking cares about Quibi?
No, Quibi is one of the biggest disasters in streaming of all time.
Oh,
It might go down as the biggest.
I legitimate. You know what? I 100% legitimately think it will. If you look into the money that you like, if you actually look at the finances of
Mm-hmm.
Quibi,
Oh
it
yeah.
is it is it is oh my god, it is a nightmare. Like, and the person who came up with it, like, oh, he's been this big mover and shaker, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
obviously he's very disconnected from how modern people live.
Yeah.
Because the idea was like, we're gonna do short things while you're like on your phone, and it's like, well, no, nobody wants to sit down and watch your thing on the phone when you're going between places. Like, you're kind of on the go. That the whole point is that you
Yeah.
kind of don't want to do that.
I mean,
It's just
also I just gotta
oh
think about who would have ever thought we'd see a Junji Ito adaptation in the West getting a TV series and it goes to Quibi? I mean, you take Quibi out of that headline that in my
oh
script here, Junji Ito's Tomy is being adapted into a series for blank by Alexandre Aja. You change that blank to almost any fucking thing else, and it's a good headline. That's something to get
well,
excited about.
the you know what, I would agree almost almost to a point, except for it's like, well, I was thinking like, where else would it not be good?
Okay,
That's kind of the
like
question, and it's like CBS streaming.
yes,
Like, I
yes.
don't I don't need it on CBS All
Oh, so
Access.
so
That would be a
CBS would not
nightmare.
touch this.
I,
Would not touch Junji Ito with a six
exactly, but
foot pole.
can you imagine if they did?
Oh my
How
god.
bad that would be.
Mm,
Like, at least, you know what, I don't know what Quibi, like, I don't know Quibi's style rules. Though what I
yeah.
do know is that it's designed so you can watch it with your phone held upright
Hmm.
or in landscape,
Hmm.
except that when you hold it upright, it doesn't change the frame, it cuts off the edges.
Oh my god. That's
Oh, it's
horrible.
a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And
And
so, like,
I heard
maybe
that so
maybe
many
that's why they
people
went
were
with it.
ups. I know that so many members were upset because they wanted to have an app for their Quibi shows to watch on their Roku or watch on TV or on the computer. And
Yeah, is where you want to watch stuff. But the whole point of Quibi was it's supposed to be just on your phone,
yeah, and they
and it's like,
didn't
that's the
see that
worst
coming.
place.
They were like, Anyway, we're going to be talking about Ju-on Origins this week.
One last point on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that maybe Ito, because he's he loves his horror,
Mm.
do you think that maybe he decided I will only do this if it's on Quibi because that would make it a real life nightmare?
I seriously doubt it, but I mean, who knows? He's kind of a weird guy. Actually, he's really a nice guy, but yeah.
He's been in a lot of YouTube videos where he's
Mhm.
like looks at other horror things, and he always comes off as just the sweetest man.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's willing to say, "Oh, that's so cute," or "Oh, that's scary."
I really like I appreciate that too. As somebody who as a man who is maybe not the definition of macho, I really like somebody that the man who can go, that's you know what, that's adorable. I really like that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, alright,
But
but
on to Juon.
yeah, I think so.
So so right out the gate, we're going to talk about episode 1 to 3, but I want to set up we have not watched episodes 4 to 6, or at least I
I
haven't,
no,
have
no,
you?
I have not. No, no.
Yeah, we specifically did this so that we can't be reaching ahead. We have to guess. We have to kind of extrapolate to see where it's going. And then in the next episode, we can see how right we were.
Also, it's sort of like how when people used to watch shows on the TV where you got only a certain amount of the season at a
TV?
time. So we're kind of trying to be, what do you call it? The what do you call it? Cooler talk? No, fuck, no, that's not right. Water cooler talk, whatever.
The water
Anyway,
cooler talk, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
then
we're
talking around
yeah
the like with Twin
about
Peaks
Ju-on
when like
Origins.
season 1 is huge. Who killed
Yeah,
Laura
yeah.
Palmer? This is like who did what is you know what? If there had to be a question around this in the same way as who killed Laura Palmer, the
Mm.
question would be what happened prior in that house.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no.
before we take any guesses in that direction, let's set up what the series is.
Yeah.
It's not Ju-on in the way that we think of it not
Mm-mm.
traditionally, but
Mm. I mean, it's not the
previously.
series that we know really yet. There's bits
N-
and pieces, but
I
it's
don't think it
it's.
will ever be.
Mm.
I don't think it's ever going to be that. I think this is like you ever read comics and you get to Bizarro World and you're like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get I think this is the Bizarro World version of Ju-on.
yeah. Earlier this year, we actually saw a different take on the Ju-on Grudge stories with the new Hollywood film um,
Oh
that
yeah, that's
starred,
right.
yeah, that starred Damian Bashir among
God, that was
others.
this
John
year.
Cho. Yeah, I mean, 2020 is so long.
Yeah, that
Um,
was January. That was just right at the start.
now, see, now that movie, I believe, has a sort of different sort of look at the Ju-on Grudge, stories. I was like the first one that really said. I mean, there had been
Actually,
other Hollywood adaptations before that, but this one, but they kind of kept the same tone and look. And this one was like, we're changing that. It's fucking maggots and grime, and it's ugly and sweaty. And I, for
this is
one,
actually that's kind of more like the series. This one,
yes,
like,
yes, I think the series has really more similarities to the 2020 American film than it does. Well, I don't want to say that for sure, but it and
it
visually it
seems to.
does.
It
Visually, it
definitely
feels.
seems to. I would even say no. I would say straight up like that. I remember that film being very mean, and
Yeah.
this show is almost mean.
Oh,
The
this
show
show
is
is
heroin.
fucking mean. This
I don't
show is mean.
I'm gonna argue against that. I think that the show is heroin. The show is dark, but I actually feel like the show has compassion.
Okay, well that might be
And
true.
that it is
I
it
feel
is
like
putting
the
these characters through hell though.
yeah, I feel like the 2020 Grudge film, which I will risk points by saying I like that film,
I like it.
is is kind of like what like someone looked at the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead and was like, let's do that to the Grudge while we still have the
Oh, that's a
license.
good movie too.
Yeah, but it feels like that sort of
I you
muddy,
know what?
mean,
I
grimy.
100% see that.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's okay. I'm gonna take a shot at setting this up.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot to set up here.
Yeah, so we're going to go through this kind of linearly, But to set the series up,
We
this
need to
series.
we need to first say we are going to talk spoilers. We
Oh
will.
yes, absolutely. We're going to talk spoilers, but this is available on Netflix. It makes it that's very accessible. If
Yeah,
you haven't
go.
seen it yet, I would suggest watching it because there's a lot to spoil, and we haven't even got to the last half.
No, no, yeah. The first 3 episodes are 90 minutes. Go watch them. And then first pause us, go watch the 90 minutes of the first 3 episodes, then come back and press play. Yep.
Okay, so right out the gate, this one differentiates itself from the main series by saying that it's based on a true story. It's like this is the story of what The Grudge was based on.
Hmm.
Now, I believe right out the gate that this is a fabrication. I believe that this is chosen in order to just create in oh god, think it was in Alexandra Heller Nicholas's book on found footage, in which she suggests that what we do when we watch found footage is we participate in a game of pretending this is real. When we
Mm.
sit down and we watch like Die Hard, we know it's a movie. But if we sit down and we watch a found footage, we know it's a movie, we know it's fake, but we watch it and we pretend and we interact with it mentally as if it were real.
That's
And
really interesting, and I agree with that. I do. That's really interesting.
I that's a great book, but I believe that that is what this is doing. It's bringing us into the real world, which we will get into that. I have a lot to talk on that aspect of it, but it sets it before the main series because in
I
order for the
also want
series to be
to.
based on it, oh sorry,
No, it's all right. I also want to say that based on a true story thing, kind of, and also with the fact that it's trying to be like sort of a little bit of a commentary on violence in the world
oh
and
yeah,
in
that's
Japan.
that's that's definitely what I'm talking about later when
It
I
reminds me of Fargo, both the movie and the TV series, which
oh
always calls
yes, which
itself a
starts with
true
that
story.
fabrication.
Yeah, it says it's a
That's
true
actually
story, but really it's about the violence of America and how you basically it's like this isn't true, but some of it seems so beyond or stranger than fiction that you kind of go, okay, that would only happen in real life,
That's
sort of true story.
actually why I opened up my a short film with a happy ending by saying based on true events, but it has an asterisk, and then after the credits it says, probably.
No,
But
but yes, this one
it starts
takes.
it out in 1988, which is years before we get Ju-on, the original on the V Cinema Classic. And so we start there, we're introduced to the world, we meet some characters, and then we watch them evolve and change as they've come to interact with the Ju-on house, because the idea behind the series, if anybody hasn't seen it, and I mean the film series as a whole, is that there is a haunted house that when you enter it, a dark energy, a presence follows you and it eventually consumes you.
Hmm.
This does not do that to that same degree. It does bring in a dark
Mm,
presence, but it doesn't act in the same way. The other one simply you got taken. And in this one, we have seen characters who go into the house and have been alive. Like the first episode starts in 88, but by the time the third episode takes us all the way through to 95. And we
yeah,
have characters who had been in the house and then moved on. And
I
if
think
you
it
remember in
like
the
it
trailer,
curses
oh,
people. It doesn't necessarily
yes,
kill
actually,
them.
that is what I was going to say. Because if you remember in the trailer, we saw one character on that who said, "I used to live there as a kid."
Mm,
And if it's the character I think it is, now in the trailer, they were not on screen speaking, I believe,
mm.
but I think I know who it
I don't
is,
remember
and I
the
think I
trailer as
know where it's
well.
gonna go. I watched it so many times.
A lot of okay.
So in this version, we begin. Okay, I'm gonna do the most bare bones of the
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
We begin. We're introduced to an actress and her boyfriend and a psychic, and she's being haunted. But it turns out that it's all related to this house. But that brings us into this, and then we're also introduced to a high school student who is going to become a main character. We're going to see her grow up, and as the series kind of goes, it tends to introduce characters in a way where like they show up and then they'll disappear from the story for a bit. For example, in the first episode, a character shows up, does a horrific thing to a child, and then disappears until they're referenced at the end of episode 3.
Yes, yeah. I was
And
like, where the fuck
in
did that fucker go?
in doing that, I think that what it's doing is it's capturing that non-linear feeling of the original series, because in the original series you're jumping between
Yeah,
three
it
different
goes.
decades
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah, yeah.
but in this one you're
This one goes a
following
straight
linear,
line, but it feels nonlinear because it's so scrambled and odd.
which is I think a very interesting choice, and I think it's actually the best choice they could have made for a TV series.
Yeah, so much of this really does feel like it's gonna end up feeling like a 3-hour movie, but
I think it will. I
yeah,
think I don't know if it will continue into another season,
yeah,
obviously,
we
when it
have no
haven't hit the
idea on
end,
that. Yeah.
but it definitely feels like you're watching a movie.
Hmm.
It feels like a singular vision.
And that vision is brought by not by series creator and regular Takashi Shimizu, but by the young writer director Sho Miyake, who directs every episode. I don't know
Also, it
his
is a
work.
singular vision as far as direction.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, but I don't know his work. He's very young, but so maybe that's part of why. But anyway, it's yeah, it is a new vision, and
So with that basic out of the way, let's dive in at the beginning and let's just work our way through.
okay, yeah, we're gonna end up skipping over some parts probably
It's
just
kind of
because
an
it's a dense show.
it really is. It makes such good use of its time. So the series opens and where we watch this old guy or middle-aged man who like he sits down and he watches his performance on a TV show.
Hmm.
He's apparently a paranormal
Paranormal
invested,
investigator. Yeah,
and
that's
so
the character Odajima. Yeah,
Odajima, okay. And he was on a show with this actress whose name I assume you have.
Haruka.
Haruka. Now Haruka claims is saying she hears footsteps and he asks her to record it, and so she sends him a recording, and on it you can hear the footsteps and you can hear what sounds like a voice.
And they're doing through this again on TV. Did that remind you of One Missed Call at all?
It did, yes.
Okay.
And so like yeah, he comes back, he does that. Meanwhile, we're then introduced to a young school student whose
Kiyomi.
mother is horrible.
Oh, she's
Her
horrible.
mother is horrible. She suggest like ends up seducing her teacher, but before the end of or the next episode. But also, there's a reference saying that the student, her daughter, had seduced her husband, and we don't really know what happened with
Yeah,
that.
we don't have no idea. Yeah.
But that is definitely going to come up. Oh, and also there was something that happened at her last school, which I assume she slept with a teacher. That is the either
The
her or her
mother or
mother.
the mother or the kid did.
I'm not sure which. I think it's
Because remember the
what I think is that it was the mother that did, but that it was then shifted the blame to the daughter.
yeah, no, I think so too because remember the daughter was a virgin.
The daughter. Oh, okay. At the end of that episode, the daughter ends up at the Grudge House, but we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So I think that actually does confirm it was the mother, but
Mhm.
it was then the shame or either the blame is
Yeah.
put onto her.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually, you know what?
Mhm.
That's I did not I obviously knew she was a virgin, but I didn't put that together.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
that
it's
definitely
it's
is
a
that
dense
mother is
show.
horrible.
No, no, she's a horrible, horrible woman. And young girl Kiyomi, seems. Listen, she's a little bit. She needs some help.
Well, in that no, not right away. Actually, when we first meet her,
Yeah, she needs to get away from her
she seems
mom.
shy. Yeah, she does, but she seems shy. But she starts to make friends, and she's okay opening up. And they're like, "Hey, do you like cats? We're gonna go to this mansion. It's called like the
Cat
Cat
mansion.
Mansion, or
Yeah.
and that's
No,
like
no, no,
cute."
no humans live there, but all the cats, stray cats in the neighborhood, all go there.
And so that's happening. Meanwhile, the actress is she's hanging out with her boyfriend, who I love her boyfriend so much. He is wonderful in this.
No,
Like
he's good. Yeah.
he's really nice to her. He plans to marry her, and as
Hmm.
because he's planning to marry her, he goes looking for a house. And we actually see the scene in the trailer. He basically he's walking in the house, and there's a moment that I actually wrote down, because he's walking, because he walking slowly and looking
But
and
we need to
checking it
point
out.
out he as he goes to the Juon house. We need to point that out, not just any
Yes, yes.
house.
Well,
The,
that's what I'm getting to,
yeah, yeah, okay.
which is that as he's in this house, like, we hear something, and then we get what I thought was really creepy is we get a POV shot, but it clearly is not actually held by anyone, because
Mm,
he looks over to where that shot is. There's nothing there, but then behind him we see a woman in white,
mm-hmm.
and then we cut out quickly as he starts to turn, and we cut before he sees her. Now, we don't actually know this is the Juon house yet, though. It's not
Oh, is that
until
right? Okay.
that no, because we find out, the actress comes home, and he's been asleep on in the kitchen
Mm,
for
mm-hmm.
some reason. Obviously, he's scared of something.
He's scared of his
Actually, like,
bedroom.
we forgot a scene. And that we find out it's the Juon house, actually, because the paranormal investigator goes to talk to him at work,
Yeah,
and he said,
he's
like, I
trying to
went to a
get more
creepy house.
information about Haruka, but he ends up going to the boyfriend, and and the boyfriend's like, I will not tell you about that house because then you'll go into it, and you should never go into that house.
And the reason he goes to the boyfriend is because Haruka says, my boyfriend saw something, but he wouldn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, talks to him. You find out he went to the house. Then she comes home. He's asleep, and we get the first real scare scene.
It's the
Though I
best scare
think,
in the first three
oh,
episodes.
actually, we had to pause before we get there. I just realized, because the scene right before that is a man is driving with what we first assume is his daughter.
Oh,
And he's driving. Oh, sorry.
no, 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 you're right. No, I was just going, oh, yeah, that did. I think that for
Yeah.
what it's worth, that we don't need to really worry about and then. Let's just try to cover the bases,
But
because,
so he's driving with what we think is his daughter, and then she's like, I want to go home, and he, like, stops and pauses, and you can tell he's frustrated. And then he fucking swings at her, and the camera jumps back out of the car, and you just hear, like, swing and scream and swing and
yeah,
scream,
it's
and you're
disturbing.
like, oh my god. And then immediately after, we get the scare scene, which you set this up, because I watched this literally through my fingers, curled up in a fucking ball under a blanket.
Okay, so Haruka returns home and finds her boyfriend sleeping in the kitchen, and he's like, "Oh, I must have just dozed off," but something's up. Basically, he's afraid of the bedroom. He must have heard or seen something, and so they try to talk a little bit, but he's so evasive. He doesn't want to talk about what's
He does
bothering
admit,
him.
though, that he saw the paranormal investigator, though.
Yes, he does start admitting stuff slowly and starts, kind of hinting at what's going on. And then they hear the bum, 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 bum of footsteps, and they kind of cling to each other because they both heard it. And they turn around, and the door to the bedroom is now open, and it's like, fuck. And then
That's
there's,
my I love the fact that, though, that the like before you see, one of the things that this does, that Japanese horror does, is characters will look and see the horror before the audience gets to see it,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
constantly. And so we see, like, I believe it's him that looks over, and we don't know what he's looking at, but we see, like, the fear start to come
Yeah,
in his
I
face,
think
and
he
he
even
goes,
says, was that
didn't
door
you
open
yeah,
before?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, that's what he says. And then it shows the door, and that's the part where I went, okay, behind my eyes now,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
behind my
no,
hands.
it's scary. And then there's more footsteps inside that bedroom, and then like a light turns on, and it's like, fuck, there's a fucking ghost in there. And
Well, but somebody's got to check that shit out.
yeah, and so the boyfriend, eventually goes in there, and it's basically nothing. And then he turns around, and the woman in white is there. The woman in white would seem to who seems to be clutching a baby to her chest.
Yes, which actually, so when we talked about the trailer, we mentioned the demon baby in the trailer.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What I did not know until the end of episode 1, when I watched the credits, because I was looking to see if the original creator, Shimazu,
Mhm.
I was seeing if he was mentioned. Screaming Mad George, my favorite special effects dude, did puppetry and special effects on this, which means that demon baby, which we haven't seen yet, but that demon baby that's coming is going to be his. He's
Yeah,
going to be
it's gonna be
puppeting
his
that.
baby.
Oh, I'm so excited for that. I legitimately want to do like a podcast deep dive, just like look at all his works or something.
Oh, that'd be
Do it
cool.
like a mini series because there's only like a couple dozen.
But the woman in white, though, seems to be this series version of Kayako, the mother ghost from the movies that
How
would
did you
come down the
pronounce that?
stairs. Kayako, I thought it
Oh,
was.
okay. Yep.
Who
Sorry.
comes down the stairs going, "Ah," you know?
Yeah. I think that I lost a syllable because it just sounded like you said Kaio, and I was like, what? Like
Kayako.
Caillou is in this?
Kay
That bald kid?
Kayako.
That kid was an asshole. But
Um,
yeah, she definitely seems to be that. But
yeah.
as she approaches him with the baby, he's screaming, and then
Yeah, he's
eventually,
fucking
it
up.
just kind of stops, and you just see it's the actress with him.
Yeah, yeah, and she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he's just losing it.
Then we get to the last scene, the lead up to the last scene of that episode, which is
Yeah, yeah.
go into the house.
Kiyomi and her new friends at her new school, who bring a boy that she didn't know about to Cat
Well,
Mansion, which we find out to be
they
the
don't even
Juon
just like
house.
they don't even just like bring him, which would have been one thing. Like if they met after like at school,
Hmm.
it's the fact that they meet up with him without telling her that immediately sets a red flag.
Yeah, no, she's got her guard up. And so they go there, and it's instantly creepy and everything, and they're just looking around,
Well,
and
I would. It's not. I want to just say it's not instantly creepy. The first thing that happens is you get a cute little kitty.
okay, that's fair. But there is
Yeah,
a sense of dread because we fucking know what that house
yes,
is.
yeah, we exactly know. And so they go in and they're going in and they're looking at it and there's the dialogue is one of the girls says, "Is there no bed?" And he goes, "What? Of course there's no bed. The floor's fine." And she goes, "Okay." And then the two girls go like one, two, like silently to each other, one,
Yeah,
two, three, and then grab her. What's her
Kiyomi.
name again? Thank you, Kiyomi, and basically yell
Surprise!
surprise and pull
They
her
do.
down to the
They yell
floor so that
surprise.
they do, but basically, I mean, not basically, the dude rapes her. But
That
before we get to
that
the
happens in
rape, the
episode 2,
episode
but yeah.
ends.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah, it's
ends
just
with them
surprise
pulling her to
episode
her.
ends and it's like, fuck.
And we know exactly what's happening.
Hmm.
Like, there's
And
no doubt.
and on that note, the fact that we know exactly what's happening, I'm a little bit not as big of a fan of the fact that they took so much time and detail to show us all of it happening in episode 2. It's a pretty graphic rape for
Episode
TV.
2 opens with a very graphic rape, but it's very there's important information in it, which is unfortunate because it makes it hard to you can't just kind of skip it.
No, no.
Um,
Listen. Okay, the scene is very important to the story on many levels. It's intertwined with a lot of subplots and main plots, but at the same time, it's still pretty fucking ugly.
yes, I 100% agree. I don't have as strong as a negative reaction to fictionalized versions of sexual assault as many people rightfully do, but this one did really tickle me wrong.
Yeah.
But instead of focusing on the rape, let's focus on the two key elements from it. We already mentioned we find out she is a virgin, and so that sets tells us about her mother and a bunch of
Right.
that stuff. The other thing that happens is one of the friends gets like hears something,
It's
like
like the
looks
curse
off
touches
camera.
her while she's there. Yeah.
Yeah, because she starts to disappear. Then so the rape finishes. Our main girl goes upstairs and hides in a closet because fuck yeah, girl, I get it. Like 100%.
And in the
Like you
middle of
just
the
want to
rape, they
find
didn't
us.
notice that the one friend had disappeared into the
Yeah.
house.
We actually, I don't think we see her disappear. I think we see her look off, and then the
Didn't
next
she
time we
kind of look off and then make a cat sound? Did that happen, or was that?
there was a cat sound, and I thought it was from her, but I could not tell for sure if it was from
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, I'm not
And
sure
that,
either, but I was like, wait a
but
second, cat.
we hear
Um,
the cat sound. She's gone. The main girl goes upstairs and she hides in a closet, which is another image that we saw that in One Missed Call. We see that
mhm.
in Ringu and The Grudge. It's a very common thing in this not decade, but this era of Japanese horror.
And And while
She
she's in the
looks up
closet,
though.
she looks
Whew.
up, and there's the woman in white in the attic staring through a crack in the floor down at her, and our girl just screams.
Which
And
this is the point where I paused and I started to look up rape in Japanese folklore,
mm,
because what I wanted to see, so what I assume happens here, but I can't prove it, and actually I almost it's I think that she kind of gets possessed. I think that she
I think there's a
becomes possessed, or
possibility.
she's.
Yeah.
It might not be possession as we think of it in a
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
Judeo-Christian way, but there's something like it might be like a glamour on her almost, like a
mm-hmm.
spell.
Yeah,
Like
it's
she
hard to say, but
screams.
her life is definitely shit from there on.
I and so because it seems like the the reason I think this is like the guy comes up and she's just like she's
Yeah,
not
the guy,
normal,
the
but she's
rapist, comes up,
the
and she clings to him and hugs to him, and like, my savior.
Meanwhile, they're trying to find the other girl who's missing and her bag's still there. And then when they go to leave, the girl who was just raped basically not seduces, but basically just like asks the rapist to take her home, and so he does. And
Yeah,
she
and
gives
the
such a catty look to the other girl,
yeah, the other girl
who
who
is
is
her.
freaking out because the one friend is disappeared into the house.
It
We
also
we
should be noticed that that girl is, from my understanding or what I took away, is she is the rapist's boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah, no, no,
I
absolutely.
got that
Yeah.
impression.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
But
I
so
also wasn't there a
sorry.
shot in the house of the disappeared girl? The Our
She walks she
characters don't see it,
as
but we
our
see her walking at one point.
no, our characters do see it.
Oh, they do, and they just lose
So
her.
the guy and the rape victim are upstairs, and the bitch chick is walking up the stairs when you see the missing girl walk behind her, and she hears it. I don't know if she sees it, but she hears it. Like looks down, goes, "You," like says her name,
Yeah,
and but then is called back upstairs.
yeah, that's
But
right. Yeah.
before I had mentioned that I started to look up the mythology on
Mm-hmm.
rape in Japan, and what I was looking for was the idea of, okay, are is it a mythology that a rape victim is, or a wronged woman is more susceptible to this?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a mythology around children out of wedlock? I
Mm-hmm.
could not find the only I did find there is a type of ghost who is a woman who died in childbirth, but that doesn't work.
No,
And I mean, it might work for the actual ghost of the house, but not for our girl.
no, no, no.
And then the other one was like a water imp demon, so that didn't really bring anything useful.
Mm-mm.
But she goes home with she goes home with him, and I forget where episode 2 changes his attention over to the actress in the death of her boyfriend
Yeah,
in
basically,
what has my
Haruka
favorite scare of the
basically
movie.
picks up the
Or
phone and hears, did you know this person? And she's like, yeah.
no,
And
no,
he's
no,
like,
no.
he
My
died.
my favorite. No, no, no. Before we get to that, my favorite scare is right before that, and it's
Okay.
directly related to that.
Okay.
He had told he was looking for a house because they're going to get married,
Mm-hmm.
and so he had asked her to if she wanted to meet his mother.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
that,
so
yeah, yeah.
they go over to meet the mother, and this is my favorite scene of the show so far.
Mm.
They get there. They're at the front gate. He rings the doorbell. The mother doesn't answer, so he goes inside. She's waiting for him when she hears her name, turns around, and about 40 feet behind her, just
Across the
standing there,
street.
completely still, not making any movement, not doing anything. Is just him looking at her, and she's looking at him, confused how he got there. When the door behind her now opens, he comes out, says she's here. So she like looks at him, is confused, looks back. He's still on the other side.
Yeah.
She's like, "What the hell?" She walks up the stairs. At this point, I don't remember if she turned around or if it was just the camera, but we see he's no longer there.
Yeah, he's no
She
longer
comes
there.
inside. She's like taking off her shoes, as is tradition. Walks like 2 feet to where there's a door, and there's the woman in white. She looks, sees her, wakes up from her dream, and then gets the call that he just died.
Yeah, okay, that's how it worked out. Yeah, no, I actually didn't fully understand that when I watched it.
Yeah, that was 100. That was that was basically a premonition, which I
Mm-hmm.
think. So it implies. So
The
they go
boyfriend
to the
is psychic,
funeral.
so,
Well, the boyfriend is mildly psychic. His mother much more, and I think that it actually implies I think it's implying that she is a little psychic too.
Mm. Well,
Um,
definitely the boyfriend and the
well,
boyfriend's
the mother
mother.
100%. Well,
Hmm.
at the funeral, the mother asked the actress to come in and see the body. Where
Yeah,
when
they
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 open
would
up the
not show
casket
the
because they could
body.
not show it. Oh, they couldn't because it's. I mean, you remember when they open up the closet in Ringu? It's. I
Yeah,
mean, it's that all over again. It's a face frozen in fear, and
yeah.
it's at this point the mother says how she's psychic and how he was mildly, and that probably made him susceptible to this,
Hmm.
which actually brings a interesting idea.
Do
If
you think?
he,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, if he went to the house before the other girl does, is it him, a psychic person, entering this house that wakes up the evil?
It's hard to say. We don't see another character that goes in it before him. You know?
Exactly. And so, if the idea is, because the idea is like I think what the mother's implying is that he carried the evil out with him, like, because
I
that's why it's haunting him.
I think that we know of one character that does go in there before him, though.
Which
The
character is that?
it's hinted at the end of episode 3, the child
Oh,
killer.
yes, yes, yes. Which,
So
okay.
so
So,
he went in
so
there beforehand.
I think it's either when I said that from the trailer we have the character who says that they grew up there, I
Mm,
think that is either the serial killer or it is the guy with the pregnant wife who maybe probably cheating on him.
yeah, we don't know yet. But
No,
so
but we know from the trailer he definitely thinks so,
so do you think
and we
the
know from the fact
boyfriend's
that he
mom
followed.
do you think the boyfriend's mom was trying to fuck with Haruka by saying, "I want you to see what he looked like"? Do you think she blames him somehow? Her somehow?
Blames her? No, I actually, well, okay. There's another. I'm going to play
Because
devil's advocate on both
a
sides
different
of this
family
because
member
there's
is like, "No, don't show it to her. You don't she doesn't need to see
well,
this." And
that there's that. I have two thoughts on this because there's a part later when she's sitting at the table with the mother talking to her at a different point where she says he was going to look for a house. It's my fault, and she says, "Yep."
yeah,
But I
it's
don't
like,
know. I don't
fuck.
know if I don't get the impression. Like I don't think the mother is that malicious. I think it's more like a warning.
I'm not
And
sure. I'm not
this
sure I like her though.
I love the end of this episode though when the mother wakes up and the son is just like in the like he's sitting in the hall and his mouth is
Dead.
he's trying to talk. He's dead. He's just a ghost. He's a vision she's seeing, but he's trying to like he's mouthing words, but he can't make sound. And it's like we see this image and then we just cut to the end of the episode and it's so emotionally gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot in this that hurts,
Oh
but that
yeah.
one really hurts.
Yeah. And
But the oh ouch.
one other very important part of episode 2 is that
Yes, that's what
Kiyomi
I think I was going to get
then
to. Yep.
begins to get vengeance on the kids that did her wrong. Basically, she uses
No, what? The
what?
kids. She doesn't do anything to the girl. Does
Well,
she? Like, well, how she gets
okay.
somehow?
Well,
Wait, and she must have. How somehow
she
she
got the
gets the photos back. So
yeah.
you're right. She must have done something.
I mean, she
Be,
sets her plot in motion because she had some stuff in mind.
oh, her plot is amazing, but there is one. Actually, there's two points. One is that we do see the missing girl again.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so so yeah, Kiyomi, is that the one again?
The
No,
one that's
yes, okay.
abused and raped.
Okay, so Kiyomi somehow in a scene we don't see has convinced the mean girl to give her the photographs.
No, that's not a
I
scene we
don't.
don't see. That's a scene in
No,
the
no, sorry,
show.
sorry, no. We see her get the photographs. We don't know how she convinced her to give them.
I thought it did, but okay.
Maybe, but I just when I was watching it and that, and I've what I remember is that like she's in the room. The teacher we come into the scene and the teacher is talking to the mean girl and saying, "Where's your friend? Like you're always hanging together. How where is she? She's missing. She didn't go home."
Hmm.
Then Kiyomi comes in, uh, tells the teacher, "My mother would like to talk to you tonight. Could you come over?" The teacher leaves. Kiyomi walks up to the mean girl, says, "Do you have them?" And then gets the photos from her.
I think it was more complicated than that,
I'm gonna
but
watch it immediately after this.
okay.
I'm I because either I'm missing a scene or it wasn't because I remember that I was when I was watching I was like, wait, why is she doing that? But she goes, the mean girl goes to a club to look for her friend, finds her friend, takes her friend's hand, and walks off camera in a hallway, and we don't see her again.
Well, but it should also be noted that the framing and everything about finding the friend at this club suggests something is very wrong here,
Oh yeah, because like the club is packed full of people, but then the friend is standing in a doorway in like the back hallway,
and no one seems
just
to
like
notice or
standing there.
recognize her. You know.
The mean girl is just like, I'm sorry. It's like, why are you up? What are you apologizing for? And then she takes her hand and disappears. Meanwhile, at Kiyomi's house, the Kiyomi and the boyfriend sneak into the house while the teacher is banging her mother. And whoo, it gets into a very what a
Yeah.
scene.
So the teacher leaves, tosses a used condom in the trash, and the Kiyomi and the rapist boyfriend now show up, and the mom's like, "Oh, you were here for all that," and basically. There's a whole lot of shit as basically the girl Kiyomi, the abused daughter, uh, basically starts accusing her mom of all sorts of shit, including killing her cat, strangling it or something. And
Which she admits to.
yeah, she admits to. And like, what's a big deal? I'm sorry, I guess,
It was just a
And
cat.
basically, Kiyomi
Well,
basically,
Kiyomi literally just at one point she's like, "I'm leaving," and then turns to the boyfriend character and goes, "Kill her."
yeah,
And so he picks up a phone, which actually we see in number 3 as well.
hmm
But he picks up a phone and beats her to death. They pull out the condom and pour the semen on her to make it look like the teacher did it, which is also another thing that ties this into my own short film. Actually,
okay, but that's another very brutal scene. The
it is very very brutal. She is like, because it's not just one hit. I mean, it's a phone. It's hard plastic. That's not going to kill you with one hit, no matter how hard it is. And so he has to beat her to death. they they leave and he's like freaking out, and she just kisses him and takes his hand and like
yeah,
just whisks him away.
hmm
And then we see the scene with the mother speaking to her son, and the episode
yeah,
ends.
yeah,
And so by this point, these two episodes make up the 1988 segment of the film,
hmm
which I want to take a moment to talk about the way that television has been used so far. This is perhaps the thing that most fascinates me about the show so far, is that in every episode we have had characters watching TV. In the first episode, we have a reference to the Chernobyl disaster and to missing girls. In episode 2, we have a reference to a garbage, what do you call those drums? An oil drum murder. And in episode 3, we have a reference to a poisoning. In the first episode, the reference to the missing girls is unique to this show. It is a reference to M, the serial killer.
hmm
But we know that Chernobyl is real. And then so we have Chernobyl, which represents a man-made disaster that damages the world and the people around it. We have a murder that shows the way that the youth are being alienated and grow into violence. And then we have a reference to the sarin gas attacks by the Shinriku doomsday cult from the early 90s, which, by the way, is still active. They rebranded themselves, and they have a really horrible band. You can watch their music videos. It's fucked up.
mm
It's really weird. But what we see here is all sorts of multiple ways of how violence permeates through society, and how men are like mankind destroys what is around it. There is another reference in the third episode, which I did not look up. I meant to. I'm kicking myself in the ass now, but it is to a collapse of a building with at least 1,000 dead. And there's first off, when you do something like this, there what's very clear is the reason that they are used in TV to begin with is that they're using real events in order to situate you within a the idea that this is reality, which brings us to the based on a true story part. But B, it's also a way of time stamping where each segment is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you were just doing it for those two reasons, you could pick anything. Why would you pick these specific examples? And I think that these specific examples, besides the fact that this is horror and that these are horrific, I think that this is because what this is doing is commenting on reality in Japanese society, and it is commenting on societal violence. And as the show continues, we have themes. We have murder, we have rape, we have child abuse, we have all sorts of things that really point towards the darkness in man and the way that it's sort of situated. Because if we look at the Kiyomi character, her mother treats her like shit, but the reason that she is raped, it is implied, is because of the rumors about who she is. So we have people making a judgment on her based on what they think she is and then treating her as such, which is systemic. And
Mm-hmm.
the teacher even continues this trend. And then we have characters. We have When we see the police who we interact with in the film never show any care for the victims, really. And everything in it, like the doctors too, are all so dry, and nobody offers sympathy because it's just the darkness of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the key point. I think that this is technically a horror series and it has the supernatural, but I don't think that this is actually about the supernatural as horror. I think this is about the horrors of society, but the supernatural is the spoonful of sugar that gets the hard medicine down.
I think that, yeah, that I think that's a fair an analysis of what we're seeing so far. Yeah, because it is a
I
lot more
love it.
dramatic and about society and about fucked up families than I really expected. But
I 100%, but I think that it is the right choice.
yeah,
I think
it's
that if every episode was just, oh, Kyoko goes after someone, like,
mm-hmm.
but let's go into episode 3, because in this we know that we start out with Kiyomi again. Well, actually, we start out with the rapist at work getting yelled at.
Yeah.
Or
Kiyomi and her rapist boyfriend slash murder accomplice are
slash
together now. They
father of
have a
her
kid
child.
now, and I think they're married, but at the very least, they're living together. They have a kid, and it's
the
not a
kid
happy
the kid is
house.
referenced as being 5. I think
Yeah.
he's referenced as being 5, which means 9 months after, which I forgot to put the 9 months, so it's like, okay, 88 5. No, he's got to be 6 then, I think. Because I had clocked it as being, okay, we're in 1994, but it turns out we're in 1995.
Mm.
So we've jumped forward a long way. The actress is still around, the mother, all the characters that haven't died are still around, and we're still following them. So this does show us again that the curse is very different in this.
Yeah. Um. So some of the stuff that we catch up on, of course, we got Kiyomi and the very unhappy household, and the fact that though she cares
Oh,
for her kid, the dad doesn't, and seems to be beating both the child
oh
and the
my
mom.
god, that scene, he hits her so bad that her eye is swollen up and her nose is bloody, and he goes into the other room, and through the like the glass partition in the door, we see him kicking the shit out of the kid.
Yeah.
And then we get a close up of her beaten face as she's kind of staring at the ceiling, and it hurts so much.
Want to point out
Uh, I,
that also the child before the
oh
child is
yes.
beaten and before the punch is delivered to the kid's mom, the child is sitting out there strangely and sees the feet of the woman in white creeping up on him. So that's something.
Well, did they actually creep, or was she just standing there? I don't.
She walked closer.
She did walk closer. Okay. The one of the things I want to point out before we in the next scene introduces us to another main character, but before we get there, I want to take a moment to talk about the framing of the horror in this. It's quite often we mentioned how a character will look and then react and then we see the horror. But another thing that happens is the horror is always like it's in the background or it's at an angle. Later on we'll have a scene in the hospital where somebody who is in a coma gets up and walks, is kind of out, maybe just a shadow, and then just it's like in the background off to the side and you don't fully grasp what's happening.
No, no,
So with this,
it's a very strange moment actually.
that one absolutely. And in this, like we know that she then walks towards him, but like what is her face doing? What
Hmm.
is
What's
she
the
holding out a
intent
baby?
here?
Like we have no idea. It keeps this information from us. I believe the next scene though is the child service worker.
I think before we get to that, uh, Haruka has like a TV segment, and then she walks off
Oh
set,
yes, yeah.
and we she reunites with the paranormal writer and investigator Otojima, who has written a new book, published a new book, which in part is about her story with her boyfriend, who, if you remember, is dead. And Otojima wants really to talk to her. He really wants to know more about this story and that house. And Haruka's manager or agent is really trying to keep them apart, but she's intrigued again. It's like the thing has it's like maybe she had moved on from it, but this reuniting with Otojima and she's thinking about it again, and then this leads her to eventually find her boyfriend's mom and talk to her. And
I really like that scene.
yeah, and
With
the mom is a medium, and so they try to talk to the boyfriend who's deceased, and
their goal though is to find the house.
yeah,
So
to find the house.
they've taken out a map and they have the map, and well, it's actually a book full of maps of
Hmm. Hmm.
Japan,
And
and they're like trying to to like get to him, and everything goes dark. Everything
yeah,
gets really really dark, and then suddenly like a hand, like the book flies open, the map shows a hand comes out of nowhere. And I really like this scene too because the mother is like, oh my god, there's a hand there. She starts to turn, and when she
wait, but
finally kind
before
of
that, the hand points at the map and points its finger into a spot, and the spot begins to burn.
yeah, and the hand also, I'm pretty sure the hand is a woman.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't think
it's the
that's a
woman in
man's
white.
hand.
It's the
Yeah,
woman in
it's
white.
100%. And so the mother's about to turn to look at it, and then suddenly we have a real, actually the closest to do you remember the Conjuring 2 with the
Mm.
TV jump scare?
Hmm.
This reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's also
But
probably
it's
the most CGI in the show so far.
yeah. But what I
It,
really like is, so she starts to turn, and then it's the son, and he goes, "Don't go there!"
yeah,
And
and
suddenly, like the mother freaks out, and all the light comes back. Like it
yeah,
wasn't, they
and
didn't
the
turn
ghost
off. It
goes
was the middle of
away,
the
and
day,
hmm.
and that's really cool.
Hmm. And it was,
And so
basically the son speaking from the dead to protect them from the woman in white. Don't look at her and don't go where she's pointing.
yeah, then before we come back, like we then go back to we meet a new character who is the child services worker. She shows up.
Our Yasu.
It, yeah, and she shows up and basically she gets into the house and takes which she's knocking on the house of what's her name again, Kiyomi.
Kiyomi's house.
Kiyomi. She's knocking on Kiyomi's house. The door then unlocks. She opens it. Nobody's there. She goes in, finds the kid, takes him out to the hospital,
Because the
gets him
kid is
treated,
very badly beaten and malnourished.
and malnourished. And the mother shows up and takes her away. And the social worker notices the mother is also bruised.
Yeah, and is like, we can
Um,
help.
But then we go back to our actress who is looking for the house, and there's a man who in a suit who leaves this house and his wife, and walks past, and the actress sees in the window of this house the woman in white, so she
Yeah,
knows where the house is now. But we actually turn around. We follow the woman in the house for 1 second, not the woman in white, but the woman who lives there.
yeah.
We follow her for a second and we see her photograph, and we know, okay, that's her husband and her. They look happy. And we follow the husband as he goes through he takes a train, and as he comes out of the train, somebody else then starts to follow him. And the husband goes and meets up with a pregnant woman and is like looking at like, oh, that's cute, this is cute. They're just, it seems very innocent, but
Hmm.
it seems like it seems intimate too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In like an innocent intimate. It's not like they're hanging out to have a sexual affair, but it does look like they're definitely having an emotional affair, which means that that's probably his kid. We don't know who the guy following is until the woman then goes home, like, gets home, and he's there, and he's like trying to, or no, he gets home and she's there, and he's trying to be like, oh, I thought of baby names in this, and she just doesn't want anything to do with him,
Hmm.
which implies, I mean, she cheated on him, right? Like, that's got to be what happened.
I'm not sure. I see now. My impression was that this is a guy with three families all over the town. I thought that was the impression I got. I don't know
From
why she was pissed.
which guy?
The guy
The,
that lives in the
the
Juon house now.
Oh yes, yeah, no, no, that's not who I'm talking about.
Oh, who are you talking about?
The guy that followed the guy that lived in the Juon house is the one that she's pissed at
Oh.
because what I think is, yes, I think that the guy who lives in the Juon house had an affair with this woman and got her pregnant,
Hmm.
but she still lives with her husband, who she
Mm.
is sick of,
Mm.
but her husband now assumes, because he followed the guy, that he had an affair.
Mm.
He is pretty sure that she cheated on him, is the impression I get. But before we before we know anything about that, we come back to a scene with Kiyomi, who is screaming and crying, and a paramedic is carrying her boy, and his fucking we find out like his skull is like his cranium's cracked, and
Hmm.
the shitty rapist beat the kid with the phone,
Yeah,
which is,
which
call
calls to
back to the
mind
mother.
episode 2.
And he's in a coma, and it's like, oh my god. And we got that really weird scene where where like Kiyomi comes out of the room and starts to laugh.
Yeah.
At first I thought she was like, oh my god, I'm free. But I think that she is in shock. I think she is
Yeah,
just,
me too. I do too. I was. It's really hard to read at first, but yeah, I think that she's in shock.
yeah, because at first it seems like she's happy, and
Yeah.
maybe subconsciously a part of her kind of
Well,
is.
doesn't she have a line something like, "I thought I was free, and then this happens to my boy"?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a very weird line, actually. Free from what? Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
is it free from the husband? Free from the mother? Free
Yeah,
from?
I don't
It's
know.
a very. We're not sure what to make of her yet.
No,
But the social worker
she's the
shows
wild
up.
card of the show.
Yeah, she is, in my opinion. So too is the paranormal investigator. I don't trust him.
I do.
I mean, he could be, but he's. I just don't trust him yet.
But before we get to the final big scene, which is about the paranormal investigator, um, Kiyomi's son, who was not expected to ever open his eye or ever walk again or speak again, seems to be out of focus, walking out of his bed and across the
Well,
hospital hall. And
yes
that's what
and
it
no. It
looks
it
like.
it,
We
it
don't
is his
know. We
shadow.
Yeah,
It is his
but
shadow.
okay, but Ariasu, the Child Protective Services woman, is like, what the fuck? She's
She well,
terrified.
she is looking at it, and so too is the doctor.
Yeah,
The
it's
doctor's eye
bizarre.
contact is
And they
that
don't
way,
say
but
anything. They just like,
the,
what?
well, not only do they not say anything, but then just like with the seance, a moment, like in the next shot that kind of like opens up for a wider shot,
Hmm.
that's not there anymore. It's
Yeah,
just
I'm not sure.
gone.
I am not sure what to make of that scene. I
I
really
have
am not.
I have no idea whatsoever what to make of that scene, but I'm going to put out. You know what? I'm going to throw out a suggestion just for the hell
Mm,
of it. Astral projection.
okay, maybe. All right.
I
I'm
I
gonna be
I have
surprised if it
nothing to
goes
prove
that
it.
direction, but yeah.
I would too, but I think this kid is touched by the woman in white.
Hmm. Oh, for sure.
We like her his entire birth is centered. Oh my
Yeah.
god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Kel, is the kid the reincarnation of the baby she's holding?
I mean, maybe it could end up
Holy!
being that creepy kid that hangs out in the underwear in kids' classrooms going, "Wah!"
I well, she keeps the woman in white clearly has a baby in her hands, and if she's a ghost, I mean she's dead, and the baby is dead. So is this her way of giving basically giving birth to that child again?
Mm. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I'm putting that prediction out right now. I I I think that's what the kid is.
And
Whoa. Okay, we'll
and
do the
then the
paranormal
big final
investigator.
scene. The paranormal investigator Otojima is doing a reading at a bookstore for his new book, and he's very popular.
He
And
he's and you know what? He is owning that crowd.
oh, for
He
sure,
is doing great.
yeah, he's doing really well. And Haruka, the actress, kind of sneaks into the back of the room to watch this, and at one point at the end of the discussion, Otojima gets interrupted by his agent or something, and gets whispered something to, and he says, "Okay, listen up, everybody. You
You
can't tell
can't tell
anyone
anybody
about
out of this
this.
room.
Yeah, this can't be leaked, but
And this
I
was the
am going
'90s. This
to
was
talk."
before this was before the internet would leak everything immediately. Let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah, 1995, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have heard from someone who can give us the uh,
The address
location
of the
of the
house.
house that I've been searching for all these years. It's a person you may know
7
from the
years at this
book.
point, he says.
Yeah, it's a person you may know from the book.
It's
The
M,
serial
the
killer.
child murderer.
Yeah, yeah,
And then Haruka stands up and is like,
and
"You can't go there."
yeah, and that's pretty much
And
the end of the episode, isn't it?
that's where it ends.
Yeah.
And so I want to get into predictions, but I have a couple things I still want to hit. But first off, what do you think of this show so far?
um, I like the show. It's very, very, very dark and bleak, and sometimes I think it's like, ugh, I did not
I
like that scene. I did not like that scene, but they're well done, and I get what they're going for. But at the same time, it's almost
It is
remarkably
heroin.
unpleasant. It's almost
I
remarkably
Yeah.
unpleasant. Um,
I really really like it. I watched the first episode. I watched a scene between my eyes. The second episode, my stomach dropped out of me like 3 times, and in the third episode, I cried.
hmm, um,
When the mother when they're taking the boy out after he's been beaten, and like she's just like panicking and freaking out, which also actually why they're right before she gets into the ambulance with him, we
mhm.
see somebody who's like in the crowd freaking out and kind of leaves quickly.
Wasn't that the
She's
husband?
I didn't think it was.
Mm,
It might have been, but he didn't have the right eyebrows.
mm,
But I only saw, we only see the husband a little bit in 1995, so it
right, yeah.
might have been, but I don't think so. But it could have been. But if it wasn't, it begs the question: who is that? Which means we'll find out soon.
Um, what we mentioned at the beginning that what it reminds me more of inside the Ju-on series as compared to the old movies is it remind me of the 2020 Grudge film, but also what it reminds me of it reminds me a little bit of Twin Peaks, and let me try to
I don't
explain
get that
why.
one, but I want to know.
Okay,
I'm interested.
m- partly it's partly the mood of the new stuff, Twin Peaks: The Return,
Oh, okay, I haven't
but
seen
but
that yet.
but story wise though, I mean, okay, we have a house that seems cursed and haunted with shots just from the outside that make it look evil, and
Is that the
shots of
Black Lodge?
no, that's the
Like the
Laura
compare?
Palmer house. That's the Palmer
Oh, okay,
house.
okay, okay,
And
cool.
inside that house we have the rape of a teenage
Yep,
girl
okay.
that sets things into motion and sets forth a story of blood and betrayal and
Also, spoilers on Twin Peaks.
f-
That's it's okay. It's
well, I didn't
fucking
say
30
who
years
did
old,
it. I
Cal.
didn't say who did it, but it
Well, you said
happens in the
inside that Laura. You said inside the Laura Palmer house.
well.
It's like
Okay,
we
fair.
didn't
All
know,
right, fair.
but it's literally 30 years. It's okay. I'm just
Yeah.
being a
Okay.
mean.
So I didn't. I still haven't said who did it, but anyway.
Okay, it was the father. I did it.
Oh, fuck you. And but okay, then also this one of the scenes that really made me think of Twin Peaks was the scene where the one scene that you mentioned that you liked, where she is standing outside the house and sees him across the street and also right beside her. That reminded me so much of that sort of,
That is Lynchian.
yeah, it's so Lynchian and unexplained, and it just kind of hangs there. And then also the fact dreams are big for Lynch.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know.
You know what? I see it.
Yeah, I just think that I mean, there's some. If I was
It
trying to
doesn't hit
name
the
any
tone though.
TV show that I felt like this reminds me of that, it's Twin Peaks. It's not American Horror Story or any of that shit. It's Twin Peaks, and that's kind of. I don't mean to say it's on the same level as Twin Peaks. It's not yet, but it's good, and I like
I
it.
mean, it's better than Twin Peaks season 2.
Now
Season 2 is bad.
let me say, it's not
There's
all
moments.
bad.
There's great moments in that, but the problem with season 2 is that they solve the murder. Lynch's original goal
Oh, for
plan was
sure.
the
I know.
murder
I
was
know.
never going to be solved,
Yeah, you're not
and it's
supposed to
like,
kill the golden goose.
yeah, but
Um,
they were like, you got to do it, and it's
yeah.
like, that shot it in the foot.
I think that
I
season 2 is all right. And yes, this is now a Twin Peaks podcast.
Listen, I like season 2. It's just I think this is better than season 2.
Okay,
That's
but
all. I
season 2
Season 1
is
is 1,000 times better than this though.
season 2 is good, and then they solve the Palmer murder, and
And then you got like 10 episodes to be like, what the
and
fuck?
okay, but it's like there's like 5 episodes afterwards where they're like, we're not sure what we're doing anymore. And then the last 5 of
Oh,
the
the
season,
last episode of that season
right,
is
it gets
yes, okay.
when
Yeah.
when the show eventually decides it's about the Black Lodge, and then it's like, yes, this is good again. So that's. But Twin Peaks: The Return, I guess season
I
3
really
is the
need to
best.
watch
It's
it.
the best. It's the best. It's the
I
best.
I have a feeling that that's going to be one of the ones that like absolutely revitalizes my love of cinema.
It's just
Like
amazing.
everything I've heard about it.
Mhm, mhm,
If I
mhm.
had to talk about this isn't quite what it reminds me of, but it's a note I had is I wanted to talk about The Grudge as a franchise rather than just this series, but in
Mhm.
relation, what I want to talk about quickly is how so in The Grudge, the first movie, more so than this, though, the scene with the mother doing the seance and the arm that comes out of nowhere is a good
Mhm.
example. But in the first Grudge, there is a sense that danger can come from anywhere. There's a moment where a character literally is in bed, lifts up the blanket that is over them, and the monster is under the
Right there.
covers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which another movie, now this is South Korean, that does something similar to this is Ganjum Haunted Asylum.
Mm.
And one of the things I like about this style, which seems, I'm sure people can give me better examples. I can think of at least one example in Italian cinema, but it's very prevalent in Asian cinema, is this idea that there's nowhere safe in the frame. So
Mhm.
in a slasher movie, if a character is up against a wall, they're going to be safe unless unless like a hand comes through the wall. And when
Mhm.
it comes through the wall, there's a physicality. It breaks the wall. The
Mhm.
sense of space is still the same. In Gonjam, a good example is there characters are just like there, and suddenly there is something like pressing on them. It could come from anywhere in the frame. It could come from immediately in front of you. There is no safe space. There's no way to look at the space within the frame and go, "Oh, our character's against a wall." I can focus, like if the wall's to the right, most of the time we'll be looking to the space on the left for the scare. But
Hmm.
with this style, it can come from anywhere, and it's deeply unsettling because there's no way to feel safe watching something like this.
Yeah.
And this one has not utilized that
No,
as
it hasn't.
strongly as it could. But however, we have not really had many supernatural scares per se. We've had a lot of supernatural eeriness,
It's
but
almost
we've only had,
remarkable how little there's been, you know?
which I think just helps to reiterate the idea that this is less about the supernatural and more about the real horror.
It's really kind of interesting how they've taken the brand name of Ju-on and done something really different.
It is really different, but also like it feels very similar too. I mean, we have a haunted house
Oh,
that
for
sets
sure, for
some
sure.
type of curse, but also even while we're doing linear, as we said, we're doing linear in a way that still feels disjointed.
As you might be
And
able to tell from our episode as we're going. Meanwhile, oh wait, no, this came before that.
yeah, it is very, very interesting. I like if we don't even talk about the story beats, if we talk about purely the temporal beats, how it uses time and shifts between things, it is a master class on balancing a narrative
Hmm. Hmm.
temporally. I legitimately, I did not realize it was all the same director and that he was so young. I
Yeah,
hats off to him
I
so
think
far.
he's 35 or 36. Yeah, I mean,
Before we move on to let me try that again. Before we move on to any predictions, do you have any other comments on these episodes that we've watched?
um, I'll say while I have a second, I just want to say the acting is good.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, Ririka plays Kiyomi. That's the full name, Ririka. I don't know her, but she's really good. I mean, she plays it so all the range of emotions of terror and then, determination and vengeance, and it's
And well, and then
kind of
grief.
scary.
Her grief made me cry. Like like I felt like she was a mother
Hmm.
was losing their child.
Yeah.
Like she made me feel that in my gut to the point that like I had to pause and literally just cry for about 5 minutes.
She seems to be the actress or the performer of the main cast with some of the fewest credits, but she's really good. She's really good. Um,
I this will probably lead to more because yeah, she
yeah, yeah,
demonstrates such range that you could watch this and go, okay, put her in anything.
yeah. The first build actor Yoshi Arakawa, who plays the investigator Orojima, he's actually the best well-known actor, doing a lot of comedies like Key of Life and Kamikaze Girls, which I love both of. And also, he was in the Bong Joon-ho segment of the anthology film Tokyo. I don't. It's almost kind of surprising how he's the
Tokyo?
Tokyo with an exclamation point.
Ah, okay, okay.
Um, it's almost kind of surprising. He's like treated like the main character, but he's not in much of the first three episodes. That by comparison,
The, I did you by chance recognize the child murderer?
I did
He
not.
looks very familiar to me, but I can't place my finger on it. I'll see
Hmm.
if I can before next episode.
Yeah. Well, I
I
think that next episode's definitely going to be about him, so we'll see.
well, yeah, yeah. I meant our next episode though.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But also I wanted to point out that the actress who plays the actress Haruka, actress, I'm going to mispronounce the first name, Yuna Kuroshima. She's actually not a stranger to the Ju-on series, as she played the character Yayoi in both Ju-on: The Beginning of the End in 2014, and then
Oh
reprising the
yes,
role in Ju-on: The Final Chapter a year later, or Final Cut a year later. Final Cut.
those two are all right.
I've not seen them actually, but
Have you seen The Grudge 1 and The Grudge 2?
yes.
All right, then you've seen them.
Okay.
It's literally the same film that you've seen two other times because Ju on the Curse and Ju on the Grudge are both the same story,
Well,
and
yeah,
this is just that over again.
yeah, but and yet they still
Um,
manage to be scary. I don't know. Anyways.
yeah, they really do. They work. I like, even though I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. I like that one. I
Mm-hmm.
think White Ghost and Black Ghost are more interesting because they also did something
I've seen
different.
those. I've seen those. But yeah,
Yeah. Um.
I,
Well, do I have anything else?
I, the only thing else that I would have to add is maybe about the lady in white, but I don't. I think I want to save it for next episode.
I do. We can mention it, predictions in a second. But before we get into there, I want to say that one of the things that surprises me is we really have not seen any effects that screaming Mad George to me.
No, not yet.
Uh,
I mean, he's in the credits,
and
but yeah, not yet. There's some
I
makeup
mean,
effects for the lady in white, but other than that,
he is an incredibly talented special effects artist, and he's actually really well known in a certain certain group. Because, for example, did you know the band Slipknot?
mm-hmm.
He's made all of their masks since the 2000.
Oh, cool.
Like, so he's involved in music, he's involved in movies and in all sorts of different things, and I had actually thought that he was retired, so seeing that he's in this is very exciting. But in these first 3 episodes, you don't see his fingerprint on them.
No, you don't.
Like, he might have been involved in some of the things we have seen, but it you wouldn't know yet. But I have a feeling that we will know when he
The
is.
train spotting baby.
Yep. Which, let's use that to then go into predictions.
I
Do you have any predictions whatsoever on where this is going?
So much of the show is like, wait, what the heck's happening now? Oh my god, no! Oh my god, no! Oh my god, no! And it doesn't. Okay, let me just say this: as good as the show is, as tense as it is, dramatic really is. I don't think that it has much in the way of mystery to make me go, I wonder what
Hmm,
the answer to that is. There's a lot of I
I
want to see what happens next,
disagree.
but what? What?
I personally disagree. I'm actually, like, I
Mm.
am deeply enmeshed in the questions, like, what is that? Why is that house? Who is the lady in white? Like,
Well, I mean,
what did
obviously that
what
stuff,
happened?
but
What
I mean,
happened to the friend? Uh, Like, there's a there. I don't know. For me, I do actually, like, I'm with the paranormal investigator. I'm like, what is happening here?
hmm. I guess I'm just I don't see it that way. I saw it as that sort of the mystery to me still seems so much like the stuff that we kind of already know on in the Ju-on lore, and I don't know if it's something that we're really going to see explored or not. I'm not sure.
I like, you know what, Kel? I really like how often we have different views.
Hmm.
I think that it works really well, but in this case, I'm going to predict that we're not going to get a rehash of the lore as we thought. I am going to make the prediction that the lore has changed between,
Yeah,
like
sure.
almost
It's supposed to be
entirely.
the
I don't think
real
it's,
true story version of the tale, right?
the reason I think that it's changed is because the fact that the curse works so differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that that is the sign that this is not the Juon that we think it is. Because if it had been, somebody would have been taken by the ghost on camera already. I believe.
Yeah,
We
the only death that we know of from the ghost is the actress's boyfriend, and we do not see it happen to him. We just see the horrible remains.
Which means that it was horrific.
Mm-hmm.
I like actually, we one of the things we didn't mention is that we keep seeing flashbacks of the boyfriend in the house, and we keep getting closer and closer to seeing what the ghost did to him there.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that yet. That's another mystery, is what did he experience? He didn't just I don't think he just saw her. I think she did something.
One of the things also I like is the way that people seem to leave things in the house. Like for example, his umbrella is left there and it's seen there,
Oh, I haven't
days and
noticed
weeks.
this.
Yeah, when he goes there with the realtor, and it's still there when when the girls and the rapist go to the house, it's still there. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. It's
Is
like,
there?
you know,
Sorry, you just mentioned the realtor,
mm,
and I just had a memory, and I don't think it's this show, but it might have. Was there a Ju-on? Was there an entry in the Ju-on series in which a realtor was trying to sell the house?
I feel
I
like yes, but I can't be
I
for sure because that's so common in horror. But I feel like yes.
I I just had a memory of this, and it I don't think we don't really see the realtor that he went with, do we?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Okay, so it must have been one of the others then. I just when you said realtor, it just suddenly had like this scene in my head,
Yeah.
and I
I mean,
was
I
like,
think
oh,
there
that's
is a
something I've seen
realtor,
before.
but we never like see the face or anything. But I don't know for sure.
I have just like a vague memory of a realtor who refused to enter into the house, like
Hmm.
trying to sell it to people, but won't like show them around it, which is also kind of
Yeah.
funny and to
I'm
think
trying to
of.
remember that. I'm trying to remember that.
And I'll look it up after, and if I remember, I'll look it up and add it to the show notes.
Well,
Um,
it does remind me though, from the 2020 Grudge film, where the detective played by Damian Bashir refuses to go into the house. He just will not
oh,
go
you know
into that
what?
house.
That might be what I'm thinking of. Actually,
Yeah, he
I
just won't go in.
yes, I think that's what I'm thinking of. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That was really like it just suddenly sparked in my brain. But coming back, so you said the umbrella is there. Was there other objects?
No,
Do we see
no,
that? Did the
but it
girl ever get
reminds
her
me though
backpack?
of the. It reminds me of the girl that got left behind and left her shoes and backpack there, though. It's
Yeah, I
just like
wonder.
the.
I wonder if we'll. It's been like 7 years, but I
Yeah,
wonder if we'll see like that in a closet or somewhere.
yeah. I don't know,
Um,
but
but as far as predictions, I have made the prediction that I think that the Kiyomi's kid, is a reincarnation of the white woman's.
I won't go that far, but I do believe that the kid is definitely the product in some way of the house, as much as the horrible union of the rapist and stuff.
I also, based on the trailer, I'm pretty sure that the husband is going to murder the pregnant wife.
Hmm. See,
Um,
um, myself and maybe a bunch of other people didn't see the trailer nearly as often as you did, but yeah.
I mean, I did watch it a lot, but it also it 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 doesn't really. It's not helping me to keep it organized so much.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, one person, somebody lived in the house, so that's interesting. And I think, and I know that the guy with the cheating wife, or possibly cheating wife, I know that he was really creepy, and he had a knife at one point, I think.
Okay.
But if he manages to actually do anything with that, we're gonna have to see. But I'm gonna make the prediction. Maybe the curse is that it makes you a psycho, like makes you a killer. Maybe that's just what the
I
curse
mean,
is.
it seems like that might be. I mean, we've seen that.
We've seen that. Now we did not see that with the boyfriend character, so maybe the boyfriend character,
Mm.
because of his psychic powers, had an interaction with her, but other people kind of just get like, instead of getting haunted, they just
I
get kind
mean,
of like
the main girl
warped.
just goes missing, but the
I
rapist,
wonder if she'll come
of
back.
course, murders and becomes even worse over time. Well, I mean, worse
The and the
person
and
than
the
just
girl
a.
the girl who is raped does the revenge murder.
Yeah, and
Um,
you know.
who else do we see in there? Well, M has been to the house and he's a child murderer.
Mm-hmm.
The I wonder if the boyfriend like was like fighting the urge to kill the girlfriend or something.
That if
I
so,
I
it
mean, it doesn't
never
it
comes up.
no it does not come up in that, but I'm just based on everybody else's reaction to the house.
Hmm.
I wonder if he wasn't psychic, if that's what would have happened. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to believe that's a possibility. I think that there's something going on there. Um, I'm going to be really interested to see the uh, child murderer interview at the prison because that was such a strange, I mean, such a dark scene to put into middle of episode one where he just beats the crap out of this little
oh,
girl that he
and
abducted, and then you
it
never
needs to be
see him
noted too,
again.
though. It needs to be noted that that is the first scene of horrificness in the whole show.
Yeah, but it's also who the fuck is this person? That just happened. Oh my god. And then we move on and we don't see him again, or again for the first next two
We have a
episodes we just have
reference.
reference to him at the end of episode
Yeah,
3, and it's just kind
well,
of a remarkable way
no, no.
to
We
do
have a
it.
reference to him. We have a reference to him later in episode 1 too,
Oh
which is
yeah,
we
yeah,
we
on the
see on the
news.
TV the girl that he was with, and we
Hmm.
hear that she was abducted, and that another girl had been abducted, and so it implies that he was doing both. Which then, when
Hmm.
we find out at the end of episode 3 that he's a child murderer,
Hmm.
a serial child murderer, we know that okay, those two are him.
Yeah.
But beyond that, yeah, he just drops out of the narrative, which also though means he was arrested. So like that's he. There's no reason for him to
Oh, for sure,
like to
but it's
kind of
still
be out
a
of it.
strange thing to drop in the middle of,
It's
the
it
show.
is it is the moment that makes you realize that this show is not gonna, pardon my pun, but not gonna pull any punches.
Oh god.
Like
But also to me
I
it's
did not mean
is
that when I started to say it. Just
Mm.
I realized it right before I did.
I think also it's an example of this, to me, feels like a narrative choice that only works for a streaming series, because if you were going week to week with this, that lingering question of who the fuck was that guy that just beat the crap out of the kid, and then in episode 2 you don't find out, and then episode 3 you still don't really know what the fuck is happening. I'm not sure that would fly, but in a Netflix series where it's like binge watching is almost encouraged, and this one feels like basically a movie that's been
I
cut up into chapters, that it feels like it's a narrative choice that works.
I would. I think that it would be hard to pull off, but I think that it could work. And the reason I'm going to say I think that it could work is Twin Peaks. The questions in Twin Peaks of like what the
Mm,
fuck is that room and the talking backwards and all that is that sort of lingering question.
yeah, but I don't know that but that sort of stuff kind of fits in with the show as you're watching it, whereas this scene sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know.
Hmm. If he lived in the house, I'm assuming he lived in the house on, but if he lived in the house, I wonder then if he actually had like was the woman in white already in the house by that point, or has he witnessed the creation of her?
Mm.
We're gonna have to stick around to find out, I guess. But what do you say we wrap it up and get cracking on those next episodes? I'm eager to see what happens.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's watch those, and we'll see you again next week.